Well, that took a while to happen. Um, at least it's recording now, finally. So, I called Marcia since I can't record videos on this computer because it's completely full. Um, I had to record it on YouTube. Of course, I made that conversation so that it's unlisted. So there's some private stuff with my case that is, pretty important. Um, it's not going to get me in trouble if I post it on YouTube, but it's having to do with my case. And as a result, it's important to try to keep some of that stuff private. Sometimes people do stupid shit. Sometimes you have to trust people because you're desperate because everybody keeps blowing you off. I mean, when almost everybody that you go to about this, they want to talk about it's not hearsay. All right. If I say that a police officer assaulted my friend and I was not there for it, that's hearsay. If I video recorded me being assaulted by the cops and I'm telling you that I was shot in the head, the person who is supposed to help me with this and promised to help me with this, well, her name was Kayla Trujillo, aka Miss Peaches. And of course, the Colorado Daily Camera took a picture of her and put it right on the front page of their newspaper, trying to pretend that I assaulted Waylon Lolatai. And I've told these people repeatedly, I have the evidence. Please look at the evidence. Well, you got to send it. I have been sending it to you. And it's very frustrating for me to have to say over and over again, I told you like you are stupid. But the fact is that when I tell you I have the evidence, I have the evidence. Yes, I have the evidence. Absolutely, I have the evidence. I've been trying to get someone to look at it. Nobody will look. Tara Smith came down. I tried to show her the evidence. She wanted to turn off the evidence so that she wouldn't have to see it. And then she wanted to tell me many of the same things that Marcia Estrada says. Well, we know what's going on. Nobody's going to do anything. I already knew this. I've been voicing this for years. These people are professionals in their field and they're saying these things. Or they're supposed to be professionals in their field. Obviously, Tara Smith didn't do jack. It says my connection is unstable again. Please wait while we try reconnecting. There's evidence of all of this stuff that I've been saying. And obviously, the connection is still unstable. It still says, please wait while we try reconnecting. I did send the information that I needed to. Now, obviously, I'm going to review this video after I'm done with it to make sure that I didn't give out any wrong information. Now, there was one situation where I was talking about a situation where I was trying to turn in Chris Kurth and Carl Snell, and I accidentally said Cody Selhorst. Now, I was trying to turn in Cody Selhorst. I was also trying to turn in Jared Hahn. God, people just love cruising through here. And a lot of times they go into this south lot here, in between here and the railroad tracks. It's a city building. And they come out here and turn cookies and spin cookies in it and then drive off. Um, we also got people who drive by real super slow, which is kind of strange. Given the snow that's out there on the road, it's mostly slush now. It makes sense. But the thing is, it's not like I haven't told these people over and over again, and it's always the same argument until literally I have to scream it at them. I've been telling Marcia since I was in Scottsbluff jail. I've been telling her since then. Yes, I have the evidence. I need someone to look at me being arrested and locked up is only a small part of that abuse. But then again, while you're locked up, you have no rights. You are treated normal. It's assumed that you're guilty. It's assumed that because a cop said something, it's all right. Repeatedly, when I was abused in these places and tried to turn them in, same thing. They send me to a nuthatch, tell them that I'm schizophrenic or suicidal or whatever excuse that they can make to justify not doing a damn thing about the reason why. In many of these cases, I'm obviously trying to tell the cops what's going on. Oh, let me find it. I mean, I've got that letter from Meg. It talks about all of these different places that we went to, and of course, I got stacks of paper all over the place. But yeah, it's from Meg. She was involved in the situation. The thing is, I explained to both Penny and Marcia, yeah, you need to talk to Meg. Well, why do we need to talk to Meg? And obviously, that was mostly Penny. Why do we need to talk to Meg? Because Meg is a witness. All of these places that I was just talking to Marcia about, she's saying, well, did you call this place? Did you call that place? Well, the stuff from Meg shows that yes, we called those places. But we called those places after I had already had to call those places by myself, and they blew me off. The recordings that I made with me and Meg when I was in the hotel room in Sydney, the one that I was arrested in, I'm sure some of you have seen that video. You've seen the comments on there. Yeah, I was trying to turn in Scott DaCosta, Leslie Snell, and Robert Warnick. Now, that's according to Meg. Now, she let me know that she wasn't aware of the situation with William Barr until after I got out of jail, and that might be true. I mean, I have to dig through a whole bunch of recordings to find the ones in specific that I'm looking for, and that takes a lot of time. And there's a lot. Look at all that. Look at all that paper. Just the paper stuff. And I have more electronic stuff than paper stuff. People say I'm trying. That's proof that I was trying. Well, you needed to go see a therapist. There's a bunch of stuff from therapists in there. You need to go see a doctor. There's plenty of stuff from doctors in there. This is when I was supposedly arrested in Virginia. Supposedly arrested. I wasn't arrested. I was taken to the hospital. I was treated for diabetes mellitus, which I do not have. I don't have diabetes, and they diagnosed me with diabetes at this hospital. Also, they didn't give me a drug test. I told them that I hadn't smoked pot in about 5 weeks. So they wrote down that there was trace amounts of marijuana. Well, how can you find trace amounts of marijuana if you never do a drug test? Obviously, they didn't charge me for a drug test. It says here, you have not been prescribed any medications. This is from Virginia. This is the day that my vehicle was stuck in the road. And I've already shown this piece of paper, 3-4 times just since yesterday? It says anxiety state, HO diabetes mellitus. And that's all from Sarah E. Gregory, who's a physician's assistant. And it says ED medication administration for 10/23/2016, 0852 to 10/23/2016, 1421. So this is My birthday is October 18th, all right? I was dehydrated on October 18th. The messages between Natalie and I show that I let her know that I was dehydrated before we ever went out for my birthday. It shows that while I was supposedly stalking her, she was insistent that we go do something for my birthday. Also, it shows she didn't want to go anywhere, and neither did I. Her sister did. So we went to Elliot's Coffee Grounds, and that is the last time I saw Natalie. Now it says right here, sodium chloride, 0.9% bolus infusion, 1,000 milliliters. It says intravenous new bag JT. Now, one of the nurses that I spoke with, she said, well, they should be able to tell how many of them they actually gave to you because the amount of time that you were hooked up, that's going to be more than one. It's going to be more than one bag of saline that they give you. You were obviously severely dehydrated because of the amount of time that they had you hooked up to it. It's obvious that they didn't charge you for the amount of bags of saline that they used, and it's obvious because they were giving you saline that you were dehydrated, even if they did only give you one. And obviously, because of the amount of time it took, they did give you more than one. Also, something I might add, my eyeballs burned for days. 0.9%, that's a lot of salt. That's almost 1% salt. Up here in the Rockies, if you get salt, finally, after fucking 10 minutes, that connection thing finally went away. Thank goodness. God damn it. And it right back. Holy shit. Yeah, this is obviously, I'm trying to tell the truth. I'm trying to show the truth, and I got an unstable connection. That's not helpful. But this is October 23rd. My birthday was October 18th. The 18th, the 19th, the 20th, the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd. So 5 days at least, almost 6, of being severely dehydrated, of being stuck behind Natalie's work. It wasn't Natalie's work. It was Alicia Bollinger's work, and she didn't work there anymore. Her boyfriend still worked at the Starbucks two doors down. People keep saying, well, what about the evidence? I've been posting the evidence. It's that these people, I tell them over and over and over, I have the evidence. I have the evidence. Let me give you an example of the 50th or 60th time that I've told them I have the evidence. I say, I have the fucking evidence! And then they want to pretend I'm a bad guy. Oh my God, you yelled! People are dead. People I personally know are dead. I told you repeatedly, I have the evidence. Meanwhile, there's people like, of course, Anna. What's the issue with Anna? Everybody wants to become a pocket lawyer when it comes to coming forward. They say, oh, I can't help you, Sean. I'm not a lawyer. You're a fucking witness. A witness. A witness that what the cops said was not true. They wrote down in my paperwork repeatedly that I wasn't trying to get help. Does that look like I wasn't trying to get help? I had to collect all that shit. Appointment after appointment after appointment for place after place after place that says we can't help you. Meanwhile, people want me to be able to instantly pull this stuff up as if I have 5 pieces of evidence total and that's it, and it'll take me 10 seconds to find the goddamn thing. No, I have to search through literally thousands of videos, literally thousands of conversations with witnesses, literally thousands of audio recordings, literally thousands of screenshots, literally, not a joke. Now, she does ask me about smoking out of my tobacco pipe. you know what? I can't go get a pack of cigarettes safely. I have to make sure that when I go to pump and pantry to get anything, either A, I have to send somebody else, or B, there's a couple of hours during the day that I have less likelihood of running into one of my predators there. If I walk into pump and pantry and Leslie Snell is standing in there, who is my predator, not the other way around, I get in trouble for it. Meanwhile, Robert Warnick can assault me repeatedly, and the police did everything in their power to make sure that I couldn't get my phone fixed to turn him in. But then again, they also knew I was trying to repeatedly, and the police did everything in their power to make sure that I couldn't get my phone fixed to turn him in. But then again, they also knew I was trying to turn them in. You guys are mad because after trying to go to these assholes like Tara Smith, who didn't do her job, someone who I went to all the way in 2018 about this, and you guys want to be mad because I yelled. I shouldn't have had to. You listen to that recording, yes, I'm yelling. By that time, how many phone calls have I made to these people? How many phone calls had I made to these people? Did Tara Smith at any point in time actually make an effort? How many times did she actually make an effort to look at the evidence? I brought it in to her in person to show her that evidence. And guess who got to be right outside of the door while I was doing this? Leslie Snell was there. Scott DaCosta was there. Now, as I find it, I'm sending it out. But what's the use of sending it out if people aren't going to be able to look at it, or if there is so much that they say there's too much to look at? How do you think I feel? I don't just have to look at it, I live the experience of this. I live the experience of having to turn into a sheriff that knows I'm trying to turn him in. I live the experience of trying to turn in sexual predators who threaten my life on multiple occasions in a very serious manner. And you hear the mandatory reporters in these conversations saying and admitting that it doesn't do any good, that it's an uphill battle. It wouldn't have been such an uphill battle if people would have come forward with what they knew. Like, for example, Anna and Kinga and Tony. They are witnesses to the death of my friend Daniel Kitlitz. It is obvious in those conversations with those people that they want off of my YouTube. It's obvious in those conversations that they were there. They were present. Danny is dead. Tony did try to give Danny CPR. I keep saying mouth to mouth or wanting to say mouth to mouth, and I have to correct myself. If I accidentally say mouth to mouth, Tony didn't give him mouth to mouth. Danny had been dead for hours. I've seen enough corpses to know when somebody has been dead. I knew he was dead before I even knew it was Danny. I saw the color of his ear, and that's all it took. Obviously, that situation did happen. Obviously, if you bother to look it up, instead of saying it's not going to do any good and it's hearsay, look it the fuck up. You can see that the very officer that I had to try to turn in Waylon Lolatai to, who they didn't give me that information until months later, and then he told me he couldn't investigate it because they were investigating Zaid Atkinson's thing. That's Sergeant Gerhardt. That is the same sergeant who covered up the wrongdoing of these emergency personnel in Danny's death. They didn't show up until after 10 o'clock in the morning. I went out for a cigarette and I saw a corpse. And I went into the pedestrian shop to say, hey, there's a dead guy behind your store. And when we got there, the man's pants were around his knees. His pockets were outturned. The problem isn't that there's no fucking evidence. You can look this shit up yourself. It's that everybody wants to tell me, well, it's not going to do any good. It's not going to do any good. When you're telling it to a mandatory reporter, multiple mandatory reporters, and instead of doing their job to mandatorily report, doing instead is trying to talk you out of turning them in, telling you it's not going to do any good. You know what? I'm in the effort to turn it in. Obviously, when I try to turn it in, I am treated differently. I've recorded multiple situations with the police where I was with somebody or recording live, and I've recorded multiple situations where I wasn't able to record it live or they didn't know it was being recorded, and I am treated entirely differently. Now, it's still saying my connection is unstable. It's been doing that it's a 23-minute video, and it's probably done that for 20 minutes of it. Now, obviously, I had to make my conversation with Marcia private, but I also sent a link to her so that she's aware of the conversation. She has a recording of the actual conversation so that she can actually listen to it, so that she knows what she said, so that she knows what I said. The only people that are going to have access to that conversation are the people who have a link to it. If you don't have the link, you don't get to see the video. And that's not out of any hatred. That's not out of malice. That's not because I'm trying to hide things from the general public. I have to make this stuff private. The stuff that I've made public already, I never should have had to go public with. I never should have been targeted by the American public. Now, a lot of the stuff that Marcia was asking me about, have you gone to this place? Have you gone to that place? I've already answered those questions in previous recordings that I have. I already explained it, and I tried to explain it to Penny, who wanted to keep always. It's about ignoring the abuse and just working on housing. Obviously, after 3 months of working on housing and it hasn't happened, and the abuse is still going on, maybe we should take some time to focus on the abuse. Now, the message or the thing that Meg wrote, I mean, it explains that yes, we've made these phone calls. Yes, we were trying to turn these people in. Yes, we were trying to do all of the Google Drive and all this other stuff so that we could actually share this information, so that we could actually show it, so that we could actually turn it in the way that it needs to be turned in. Of course, I was arrested and prevented from being able to do that. The sheriff outright lied. Leslie Snell outright lied. Robert Warnick outright lied. Why wouldn't they? They broke the fucking law. But here's the thing, like Leslie Snell, for example. In the beginning, she really didn't do anything wrong. But she was also there and present for a lot of situations that show that the phone call where she tried to give out my phone number, she knew exactly what she was doing. She was going out of her way to hide behind pretendy protocol There are multiple instances and situations where I've called these places, explained that I do have to record it live and not to give out my phone number. Leslie was aware of that before that phone call even happened. There are recordings on this channel where Scott DaCosta tells me that Leslie Snell is pissed off at me about that. But then again, there are multiple situations, over 20 of them, about the abuse that I have been enduring that Scott DaCosta has been called for. He's done jack shit about any of it. There are important witnesses that need to be asked about these situations, but like Laura Nelson was explaining, yeah, she was thinking that Scott DaCosta, if he ever came and talked to her, was going to try to find out about the actual situation. And he was asking leading questions, questions that he thought would make it okay that he committed the crimes that he did, telling me that he can't do anything about the Natalie Bollinger situation. Then he's trying to insinuate to Laura Nelson that I was in love with Natalie, and Laura fucking set him straight. According to her, obviously. She claimed that Scott DaCosta was trying to insinuate I was in love with Natalie, and she set him straight and said it wasn't him being in love. You know, this is his friend. She's threatening to commit suicide. I mean, it's a very different situation. She also said that she thought Scott DaCosta was going to come back because it was unfinished. But Laura Nelson needs to come forward about that. And Laura Nelson's excuse for not coming forward, and she told this to Sean Holloway. She is afraid for her son. She said her son is the most important thing in the world to her. And that's the fucked up thing about all of these other people. They didn't care about Laura Nelson's kids. Only Laura Nelson did. I care about all of these people and all of their kids. And if all of them had worked together, something could have been done. All of these people who say, hey, the Scott DaCosta feller with the big old badge and the fucking stupid look on his came to harass me with CPS. Told me not to let you use the internet. Told me not to let you use electricity. So now this video is 29 minutes and 14 seconds long. And probably 25 minutes of that, it said, my connection is unstable. Please wait while we try reconnecting. Now, there's a few times I go back and listen to the video and there's enough cut out of it that I'm going, what the fuck? Why doesn't it, during that sucking it up, where it wasn't connecting properly, just, basically deleting all of that space in between. And then you've got two parts that are very close together that, there was a whole minute and a half in between there where it wasn't recording. Now there's smack right next to each other. And then it gives you a completely different impression of what it is that I'm trying to say. Now, obviously, I shouldn't have to tell somebody 30 to 50 times that I have the evidence. Now, then there's the situation with Marcia. Marcia, she's been visiting with me since I was in the jail. We had multiple situations in the jail that she sat down with me. Now, obviously, it's not recorded. Obviously, I would have recorded those situations. I'm fine with being recorded. I record myself. But the other thing is that paperwork right there. Do you have the evidence? Yes, I have the evidence. I have the evidence. I've got the evidence. The evidence is there. The evidence of these people that you want to ask me if I called. Yes, I've called all of them. The letter that Meg wrote shows that we called all of these thousands of phone calls. And if I say it 30 more times, I'm eventually going to scream. Nebraska State Patrol says it's not their job. Michelle Quinn beats the shit out of her girlfriend, and boom, it's immediately their fucking job. This thing that they've been telling me is not their job, not their job, not their job. That's literally what I was arrested for, trying to turn in Scott DaCosta. That was December of 2020. Because I was unable to record it, I have to rely on the police's recordings. And it is perfectly obvious by the fact that they dropped the charges, did not send the evidence in for processing. That right there shows wrongdoing on the count of these assholes. The fact that I was literally trying to turn them in and they outright lied in order to have me incarcerated shows that they're up to no good and they are trying to hide evidence. They are using their position of power to prevent me from turning them in. The stuff from Meg shows that. And here I am, like when I had that conversation with Marcia just now, I had to explain to her again. Yes, I have the evidence. It's not hearsay if you have the evidence. Anna was there the day that Danny was killed. Tony was there the day that Danny was killed. They both saw his body. They both verified in those conversations that they saw his body. They both verified that I had gone to them for help. That alone shows slander on the part of the officers. They claimed I wasn't trying to get help. It's not that I'm not trying. Now, obviously, I got to take breaks from this shit. Obviously, I can't just continue to grind my gears 24 hours a day on this. I have to get some R&R. I don't have any people to actually hang out with me. It's not like me and Miss Peaches and Raja are able to sit down and play Magic the Gathering. It's a fun game. The thing is, these officers, the evidence that they did the things that they did, their own paperwork shows that they did the things that they did. Their own paperwork shows that they had omitted information. Their own paperwork shows that the things that are on my YouTube that are actual evidence, things that actually happened, they went out of their way to leave out all of the parts that showed that I was trying to help and try to make it out to sound like I was some sort of a fucking fruity nut job who they had to continually come over here because I was some sort of a horrible fucking monster. No, when you're trying to turn them not doing their jobs, they're probably not going to do their jobs. They're probably not the ones that you should have to go to. There is probably a conflict of interest. And if they are literally taking the evidence that I have against Scott DaCosta and his deputies, and of course, Leslie Snell, who works for Scott DaCosta, no, they're not going to write that shit down. And ultimately, yes, I continue to call these places over and over. Yes, I have called Adult Protective Services. There are probably at least 30 phone calls on this very YouTube channel. Now, with these thousands of recordings, I have to dig through all of them. I have to dig through and try to find this stuff. And while I'm digging through trying to find this stuff, like, of course, yesterday I dug through for for hours trying to find one little piece of paper from the hospital in Chesapeake, Virginia. One little piece of paper. Of course, while I was trying to find that one paper from the hospital in Chesapeake, Virginia, one little piece of paper. Of course, while I was trying to find that one little piece of paper, I found a lot of conversations with witnesses. This isn't hearsay, it's a piece of paper. I found a lot of conversations with witnesses. This isn't hearsay, it's literally their voices saying the things that I